The Western pro-life movement cares about protecting young mothers and their children from harm. But historically, that's also what the law is designed to do. Will those laws be restored? Yes, they will. And we will show you how. On this edition of Life Matters, with your host, Brian Johnston. Brian Johnston is the Western Director of the National Right to Life Committee. He has served in many capacities while advocating for innocent lives. As California Commissioner on Aging, as Chairman of the California Pro-Life Council, on the board of the National Legal Center for the Medically Dependent and Disabled. And now here's our host, Brian Johnston.
Welcome back to Life Matters. We're your program on the right to life, on the culture that has emanated from that singular idea. And by a singular idea, I mean it's the actual foundational premise of the American experiment, that human beings have intrinsic value and worth, that the government does not give you that value. In fact, the government has a very specific duty to protect your right to be alive. It didn't give you your right. Your creator is the one that made you. But under a just government, the government must protect the lives of those governed, and in particular, the innocent. It's a very important principle, and from it has emanated an entire culture. The creativity and all of our other rights, the creativity of the individual, and your right to be creative and to keep the intellectual property you create has birthed incredible creativity and inventiveness. It's because of intellectual property rights in the United States and because of copyright law that the United States has produced so much and offered it to the world. But the rights of the individual, once they've created something, the rights for them to keep the credit for that is what's allowed that explosion. But that right to keep the credit for what you've made emanates from your right to be alive. And so these principles are really, really important. Your right to be secure in your person, paper, and property, your right to keep and bear arms, that all emanates from your right to be alive. Now, today, we're going to go into two very, very important aspects of this. One has to do with California and the right to choose. What does it mean in California? Do you know that the Guttmacher Institute, the educational arm of Planned Parenthood, brags that in California there are no meaningful restrictions on abortion? That's right. The abortionists themselves declare that in California there are no restrictions. That should give you pause. That should give you serious pause, and I'm going to spend some time right now talking about the need to get very serious about the situation we are truly in. You're going to be seeing a picture, if you get California Pro-Life's information, you're going to be seeing a picture both in print as well as on the web, a picture of a young child. In fact, it's very clear that child has just been born. But there's something odd about the picture, because the physician that's holding that child has firmly grasped that child around the neck. And it looks rather ominous, because we're not sure what that physician is going to do with that child. Sadly, I've had reports in California that children have actually been killed, that a child that was born with a deformity was killed in a hospital when the doctor, in a rage, threw that child against the floor. Now, I'm hoping those things don't happen very often. But you need to know this, that the culture of death is rampant. And in the state of New York, on January 22nd of 2019, it was legalized to not only kill a child throughout pregnancy, but should that child be born alive, to then kill that child. That's now legal in the state of New York. We have so much to say about that. I know it's a very serious question. We don't dig into this too much, but if we don't, who will? We're going to talk about how we're going to dig into that now in California, about some legal help we're getting from the Pro-Life Attorneys Network. And I'm going to mention them right now. Go to prolifeattorneys.net because you can help in this program. We're going to find out about late-term abortion in California. We don't know. The state of California is being controlled right now by the most radical Democrat Party of your lifetime. And that Democrat Party is entirely controlled by Planned Parenthood. They will not report to us what's really going on with late-term abortion. We don't know. Now, here in California, we do have a law that says if a child is born in the course of an abortion, that child be protected. The problem is there's no reporting. We don't know if that's being enforced. We're going to have to dig in. And the Pro-Life Attorneys Network is helping us to do that. So I want to mention them right now. They're tremendous allies. And go to prolifeattorneys.net. As I describe our battle here in California, please consider them. That's prolifeattorneys.net. And at the bottom of their webpage, it says to donate. And that's going to go to this particular project. And that is to bring the light of day as to what's really happening in California. We have to bring legal action in order to find out. So this is very serious. Again, we're talking about late-term abortion in California and the question of post-term abortion. We just don't know. We have to find out. In the second part of the program, though, we're going to have a little more fun. We're going to be talking about Life Fest Film Festival. And as you know, it's a personal passion of mine, but for a number of reasons. The purpose of Life Fest is to honor those films coming out of Hollywood, or anywhere for that matter, but those films that underscore the significance of an individual life, and in particular, the seemingly insignificant life. Why do we do this? Well, first, because of Hollywood's vast influence on our culture. You cannot underestimate the power of that medium, the power of the film. And we want to encourage you to come on down to see some of the great films that are coming out. The folks from Unplanned will be there, the folks from Gosnell, and many other films you haven't yet heard of, but important films that underscore the significance of each and every person. And that's why abortion is wrong, not because babies are cute. That's not why abortion is wrong. Abortion is wrong because it is killing an innocent human being that's seemingly insignificant. And remember, if you're going to kill someone, you're only going to kill those that are seemingly insignificant. That's what the Nazis did. Oh, well, these are just useless people. They're the bad race. These are people that aren't that significant. That's what happens when the right to life is lost. And again, not just with abortion in the case of euthanasia. Well, we'll just get rid of those people who aren't significant anymore, and we'll put them out of their misery. This is a culture that has lost the right to life and an understanding of what the right to life is. So Life Fest is to underscore the significance of every life. We're going to hear a little bit from Frank Capra, who is a significant director from the golden era of Hollywood. And he's going to talk about his philosophy of filmmaking. It's one of the reasons he became a great storyteller and a great director. It's because he saw the value and significance of even the most insignificant life. And that's what we honor in Life Fest. So Life Fest coming up first weekend in May in Hollywood, California. Get your tickets now. Go to lifefilmfest.com, lifefilmfest.com. So we'll be back in just a little bit. We'll talk about the serious issue of late-term abortions in California, and also we're going to talk about Life Fest.
Life Matters continues after this.
Life Film Fest is the creative outreach in Hollywood that's changing Hollywood and the culture. There's many films you've already seen that actually had their start at Life Fest in Hollywood, their premiere. But more than that, we work with people throughout the industry who want to creatively bring the message of life. Not just hit you over the head with it or preach to you about it, but creatively impact the culture so that the hearts and minds of our fellow citizens understand the depth and the breadth and the warp and the woof of what the right to life really is. Be part of Life Fest Film Festival and make a difference.
Every life does matter. Every life is significant. Find out about the exciting cultural change impacting Hollywood. Go to lifefilmfest.com. And now back to more Life Matters with Brian Johnston.
Well, welcome back. We're talking about, unfortunately, late-term abortion in California. Do you know that nobody really knows what's going on? Because it's protected by the state of California. You're paying for the abortion industry with your tax money, but we don't know much because the state of California no longer reports on how it spends its abortion money. We're going to find out. And the Pro-Life Attorneys Network is helping us do that. They're at prolifeattorneys.net. But let me tell you some of the issues and why we now have to dig into this in California. I hope you understand that Roe versus Wade and its companion decision of January 22nd of 1973, that was Doe v. Bolton, that established some terrible, terrible precedent, really, that is dangerous to the survival of our nation. And this is why every state in 1973 had declared that that's a human baby. And even the most, quote, liberal of states like California, New York, Colorado, and Massachusetts, there was 4 of them, they had said after a certain point, either 20 or 25 weeks, you cannot harm that child. That's a human baby. Before that time, you needed a dang good reason. That's what they said. In California, the litany, and you've heard it, the life of the mother. What about rape? What about incest? What about severe fetal deformity? So those exceptions were packed in there. But of course, it was the health of the mother, as you know, implied to be the life. And in Roe v. Wade and Doe v. Bolton, even those laws were struck. So even though the Roe versus Wade decision was supposed to only deal with Texas and the laws of Texas, Justice Blackmun and his cohort decided they would remove all abortion laws in every single state in the nation. This is incredibly important that you understand. The second thing that you understand is that it is not about the first trimester. That is an intellectually dishonest presentation from an intellectually dishonest media. And as you know, finally, someone like President Trump calls intellectual dishonest reporting for what it is: fake. Those are not the facts. And if you'd like to know more about that, if you're familiar with the situation in Pennsylvania with a certain doctor by the name of Gosnell, he was killing children late in pregnancy. In fact, he was doing partial birth abortion, and it's reported that he actually would snip, as the sad thing is, they would snip the spine of the child as it was leaving the birth canal. He would sometimes, for ease, snip the spine after the child was born. And that's why he went to prison, if you're familiar with that. Well, right now in New York State, on January 22nd of 2019, the New York State Legislature not only authorized the killing of children throughout pregnancy, but also should that child be born alive in the course of an abortion, you could kill the child even though they've been born. So that means that Gosnell would be a free man in New York right now, that he would have done nothing wrong. Why would they pass a law like that? And I'll tell you why. Because they see that Roe may soon be overturned. And they want to make sure they can continue doing what they're doing. Because again, what Roe did, Roe simply controlled what states were allowing or not allowing. And if Roe is overturned, then the previous state laws will go back into effect. And in New York, they actually had a law up until January of this year that said if a child's born alive in the course of an abortion, then you have to care for that child. So they removed even that protection for a child that was born alive. This has to tell you something, that there's a lot more going on in the abortion industry than is being examined. They do not dig into the abortion industry, and I hope you realize that the pop media has a vested interest in the view of abortion that the culture has adopted, that it should just be a choice. But you need to understand what choice really means. What choice really means is that abortion can be done at any time and for any reason or for no reason in particular. Just because it's chosen. I choose to kill this baby. It's my choice. It's a woman's right to choose. Remember? That's the incantation. And what that means is absolute power over the life of that child. The scary thing, and again, you have to look at their language. This is not now actually about terminating a pregnancy. Just look at that language, and we've talked about this before. Do you know that I'm the product of a terminated pregnancy? And so are you. Because birth ends pregnancy. Pregnancy is a mere condition. Their goal is to make sure the child is dead because the child's going to have to be cared for. And that might be a burden. And so in the worldview of the abortion mentality, killing that child is very important because now there's no guilt if you adopt that child out ostensibly. And I have personally heard women say, no, how could I adopt out that child? That's my child. I'm not going to adopt out that child. So it's a very frightening worldview. The state of New York, as well as the state of Virginia and New Mexico and Vermont, have asserted that they want to adopt these new laws because this is apparently what is being done under Roe because of the view of human life. And again, what Mr. Gosnell did in Pittsburgh was under the Roe v. Wade regimen. In California, we don't know how many late-term abortions are done, even though your tax dollars and my tax dollars are paying for that. The only way we can find out is by legal action. That's why I mentioned Pro-Life Attorneys Network at prolifeattorneys.net. We're going to file court cases to find out what's really going on and bring the light of day to this terrible procedure. It's very important that we know and that we be able to speak up for these vulnerable children that are big enough to hold in your arms, that are squirming on the table. You're going to see an image, if you get California Pro-Life materials. It's hard for me to talk about this, but you're going to see an image of a child being held by a physician. It's clear the child has just been born. The child's crying. The ominous aspect of this image is the physician is holding that child firmly around the neck and in a very ominous manner. We don't know what the intention of the physician is, but it doesn't appear kindly. And that's the problem now with how abortion is viewed, is that this child is a product of conception. This child is an entity that is owned, quote unquote, by the mother. And it's up to the mother and the doctor to decide. Well, you and I know, and it's been very clear if you know and read in the abortion industry writings, that the physician has incredible influence at that time, the physician being an abortionist. So the interest is not in keeping that child alive. We don't know how many post-term abortions are done in California. We've been kept in the dark by a government controlled by the most radical Democrat Party, a pro-abortion Democrat Party, and yet they're using your tax money to run this industry. So we've recruited the help of the Pro-Life Attorneys Network, and I want to encourage you to support prolifeattorneys.net. You'll be hearing more about the question of late-term abortion. We have to look into this. It's hard, but we have to. You know that such things have been called crimes against humanity. And it's very clear that these killings are, in fact, of unique human beings that are scientifically and genetically quite distinct from the mother. This is not part of the mother's body. Yes, during pregnancy, the child is cared for by the mother, but that doesn't make him or her part of the mother's body. And these killings actually go against the Hippocratic Oath. You might be aware, if you're familiar with the oath, that for thousands of years, physicians swore they would not harm a patient. They would never bring harm against a patient. And they also said, in like manner, I will not perform an abortion on a woman. So obviously, that was going to harm somebody. That was killing something, and that's what abortion means. If there's no killing, if there's no death, then there is no abortion. But language has been used to get us to not think about the child. Language and semantics are being poured out into your mind in this battle of ideas. And unless you really dig in, you'll be lulled into not caring, into ignoring it. And many, many people are intentionally ignorant. They don't want to look at the abortion issue and what really is going on. We have to. You know that we like to blame the Germans for what happened in the Holocaust, but it wasn't Germans. And it isn't because these were Germans that we were fighting them and we wanted to end the Holocaust. It's because these were crimes against humanity. And it was a German, a man of German extraction, General Eisenhower, who went and forced the residents of Dachau, Germany, to march through what they were told and wanted to believe were merely work camps. These are just work camps. At wartime, we needed these camps for all the work to be done. But they kind of knew. Everybody knew that they knew. He had to force them to see it. And it was very unpleasant, but it needed to be done. We have to force ourselves to look, what is an abortion? And in particular, late term, and now post-term abortions. What is going on that they would celebrate this in New York? That the governor of Virginia would proudly describe the process. Again, go back and listen to what the governor of Virginia said about post-term abortion. He didn't say there was anything wrong with the child. It's simply once the child is born, we'll set it aside and we can decide what we want to do with it. He said it in such a cold manner. It really gives the impression that he may have been involved in such things. This is not some faraway idea. This is what they're talking about. This is what they're doing and have put into law. This is what Gosnell went to prison for. And he was doing what he was doing under Roe, except when he pulled the child out and then snipped the neck. And these things must be looked at because, as I said, in New York right now, Mr. Gosnell would walk free. And we need to know, is this going on in California? So we're asking for your help. We need your help to find out more. Find out more at the California Pro-Life website, californiaprolife.org, or go to Pro-Life Attorneys Network. That's prolifeattorneys.net, and help them. We're working together to make sure that we know what's really going on in the abortion industry and with your tax money here in California.
Life Matters continues after this.
Hi, I'm Kevin Sorbo, and I was very excited when I heard about LifeFest Film Festival. LifeFest is the film festival dedicated to showcasing films that affirm the intrinsic worth of innocent human life and the profound significance of each life. One seemingly insignificant person can in fact change the whole world in which he or she lives. That one singular life ends up being of vital importance. I'm so glad to hear that you are cherishing that in this film festival and are committed to artfully and creatively protect the lives of those who can't possibly promote themselves.
Life Film Fest is dedicated to bring the message of life to Hollywood and to our culture. Go to lifefilmfest.com and get your tickets now. That's lifefilmfest.com.
Find out about the exciting cultural change impacting Hollywood. Go to lifefilmfest.com. And now back to more Life Matters with Brian Johnston.
Welcome back. We're going to be talking about LifeFest Film Festival in the heart of Hollywood. We want to take the Hollywood culture back because it influences not just our state. Yeah, it's a town in our state, right? But no, it influences the whole nation, and I have to tell you, I've seen it. It influences the world. Many of even the small independent films produced in Hollywood go to a thing called the American Film Market. And it's an international film market in Santa Monica, California, where those films are taken and then they're dubbed into the various languages of the world. And Hollywood product goes out to influence the whole world. We need to take back that culture. The culture of storytelling, the culture of influence. And really the best stories, if you think about it, are stories that tell the exploits and adventures, and sometimes the sad adventures, sometimes the exciting adventures, but the significance of a single person. They usually follow an individual's life and what they go through, and there's what's known as a story arc. And the best stories show how wise decisions and tough decisions actually can make a great impact. And usually what happens is that individual has gone on and they change the whole world in which they lived. Think about the Star Wars legacy, for example, with Luke Skywalker, some kid on a desert planet in the middle of nowhere, and yet the significance he had through his decisions. That's a very common theme in good storytelling. We want to bring back that aspect of storytelling, and at LifeFest, we have the Capra Award, the Spirit of Capra. We've chosen that because Frank Capra, who was known as a great director in the golden era of Hollywood, he talked about why his stories mattered. He looked at the single individual and the great impact they could have. Now, between you and I, that's what the right to life is about. That's what your founders were saying, that every life has been granted by their creator with their right to be alive. Every life is significant. Even from the moment of conception, we just keep growing. And science says that we're genetically unique. No one like you, by the way, has ever before existed. You're going to hear that now from Frank Capra. And we're going to talk about how you can make a difference in Hollywood this coming May 3rd and 4th. Go to lifefilmfest.com. Here's Frank Capra.
I'm just trying to show you that perhaps the films that I've made, I have used small guys in trouble who get out by their own, something deep within them. That it can be done, that men count, men and women count, single men and women count. That the individual is the most important thing in life. The individual. Never before has anyone been born like you. And never again will anybody else be born exactly like you. So don't you see how that makes you unique? How important each one of you is. You're only one of you.
So sorry for that gritty recording. That was from a casual interview that Mr. Capra was giving to some friends. But this Life Fest is important. You're going to see Unplanned once again. If you haven't seen it yet, you need to see it. But you can meet some of the producers and the actors from the film, some of the folks from Gosnell, but other films as well that are hugely significant. You know, one of the reasons that we started Life Fest was for younger filmmakers. There are tens of thousands of young filmmakers that graduate from film school and from art institutes that have majored in film. We want them to be able to get into the Hollywood industry and make life-affirming films that will influence and tell stories that will change people's thinking. It's very important that we restore to our culture a respect for the individual person, that the individual human life is what matters in life, and that the government should not deal with groups and dismiss groups one way or the other. That's what happens in all sorts of progressive states, whether it be national socialism or international socialism. When groups are warring against one another and the government has a job to bring down a certain group and raise up another group, human lives, individual lives, become cheap. And we've seen that happening. The nation that you live in, if you're listening in the United States, this nation has asserted the value of every individual life, the right to life. And that's what Life Fest underscores, the significance of a seemingly insignificant person. Well, that's what life's about, and the incredible impact they can have. So come to Life Film Fest or find out more at lifefilmfest.com. You can actually support Life Film Fest Institute if you can't come, because we get scholarships out to some of these young filmmakers. We are changing the face of Hollywood. We are changing our culture because we're asserting what the right to life really is. And the right to life is about the significance of each individual, even the seemingly insignificant. That's lifefilmfest.com.
Life Matters is a production of the California Pro-Life Council, the state affiliate of National Right to Life.